The sweep command creates geometry by extending a closed profile along a path. The path can be any combination of connected, but not necessarily tangent, linear segments, arcs, or splines, and, for the best results, should be created so it intersects the sketch. To enable the sweep command, you can either go to the Create pull-down menu or the right-click menu under Create. The Sweep dialog box appears with the Profile selection box already active. But before I select any profiles, I'll first go over the two types of sweeps. The Single Path Sweep uses the profile and path selections to create a sweep with the exact dimensions of the selected profiles. The Path plus Guide Rail Sweep also uses profile and path selections, but adds an additional selection called Guide Rail. A guide rail is a secondary path used to scale or stretch a profile along the selected path, or act as a secondary path boundary for a sweep. Since I want to use the exact dimensions of the profiles, I'll leave the type set to Single Path. I want to create a wire that shows the different layers of shielding using 3 sweeps from this sketch, with the first one being for the wires themselves. So, since the profile selection box is still active, I'll select the 3 circular profiles as the actual wire bodies. I'll enable the path selection from the dialog box and select the spline to generate a preview of the sweep. The chain selection checkbox can be toggled so the sweep is created along edges tangent to the selected path as well, but since there's only a single path, it won't have an effect here. The distance value for a sweep is not a specifically chosen distance, but rather a percentage of the path's distance. 1 is therefore the highest possible value and will sweep along the entire path, while a 0.5 value will only sweep along half of the path. You can adjust the distance of the sweep by using the dialog box, the floating window, or the drag arrow. The orientation of a sweep is extremely important and determines how the profile is pulled along the path. Perpendicular is the default selection and pulls the profile such that it is always perpendicular to the path, which allows for more curvature on the path. I'll switch to the right view on the view cube. And notice that the end is flat and the sweep is the same thickness throughout. Parallel then pulls the profile along the path such that it is always parallel to the sketch plane. When I switch the orientation to parallel, notice that the end is now angled slightly so it is parallel to the sketch, and the thickness of the sweep is reduced dramatically as the path moves further from perpendicular to the plane. Since this is a wire, I'll change the orientation back to perpendicular and go back to the home view. The final selection is the operation, and it has 5 options: join, cut, intersect, new body, and new component. I'm creating new geometry, but I'm not sure how I want to divide up the wires into components yet, so I'll select New Body and click OK. With the wires created, I'll next create the individual wire shielding and the outer shielding with 2 sweeps using the same sketch as the wires. I'll make sure Sketch 2 is showing. Then re-enable the sweep command. For the inner casing, I'll select the middle profile, and then select the wire geometry for the path. Since the path just needs to intersect the sketch, I can actually use the model geometry here to make sure the casings always follow the wires. I'll set the operation to New Body, reduce the distance so the wires are showing, make sure the orientation is set to perpendicular, and click OK. The outer casings will follow the same workflow. I'll enable the sweep command, select the outer profile, the inner casing for the path, switch the operation to New Body, reduce the distance so the inner casing is showing, and click OK. By placing the sketch profiles on plane at the end of the path, placing all the profiles that use that path in a single sketch, and then using relevant geometry as the path to link the sweeps together, I was able to create this wire with a quick and robust set of sweeps.